Donald Trump told his acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, to withhold money that was appropriated for military aid to Ukraine until Ukraine agreed to do an investigation into Hunter Biden, who is Joe Biden's son. Now, this is based on a new report by the Washington Post, and 3 senior administration officials spoke to them on the condition of anonymity. That's why we know about this new update to the story. Now, this direction by Trump to Mick Mulvaney happened a week before his call with the Ukrainian president. Now, officials at the Office of Management and Budget relayed Trump's order to the State Department and the Pentagon during an interagency meeting in mid-July. They explained that the president had concerns and wanted to analyze whether the money needed to be spent.
So let's pause there because I want to tell you how extraordinary that is. So normally when Congress gives money for a specific purpose, in this case, Ukraine military assistance, there are different agencies that are tasked with delivering that money. So in this case, it was the State Department and the Pentagon. So the Office of Management and Budget is headed by Mick Mulvaney, who was also the acting chief of staff. So Trump tells Mulvaney, get your Office of Management and Budget to tell 2 other parts of the government do not spend that money. That is extraordinary, weird, unusual. So he goes and tells them, and they're like, what? But by law, we have to send this money. And he says, no, don't do it. They say, okay, what should we tell the press about why we're not doing it? Say it's an interagency matter. No, not an interagency matter. Trump told them, don't send the money. I'm about to call the Ukrainian president and threaten him.
Now, we're gonna go to some video featuring Donald Trump's statements about withholding the money. He has admitted to it. There are 2 videos we're gonna go to, and I just want you guys to pay close attention to what he says in each, because he contradicts himself. But the point is, he admits that he withheld that money, $400 million in military aid, and here's why he claims he did it. Take a look.
Can you explain why aid to Ukraine was stopped?
Because I think that other countries should be paying also. Why is the United States the only one paying to Ukraine? And I've been talking about this for a long time, not only with respect to Ukraine, but a lot of other countries. And I made that loud and clear. I told that to Mick Mulvaney. I told it to a lot of people. Where's Mick, wherever he is? I told it to a lot of different people. So I said, hold it up. Let's get other people to pay. And then everybody called me, oh, please, can we pay? And I said, and there was never any quid pro quo. The letter was beautiful. It was a perfect letter.
Now, of course, NATO member states absolutely did contribute military aid to Ukraine. It wasn't just the United States, so he lied there. But keep in mind, he admitted that he withheld that money. Now, with that said,
hold on, one more quick thing about that.
Don't forget what he said in that video.
Okay, so real quick, he said, and then everybody paid up after I meant, no, nobody even knew that you were holding up the money. How could they have possibly known you were holding up the money and then go, oh my God, you're right, Mr. Donald Trump, now we'll put in more money. None of that is remotely true.
Yes, now with that said, let's go to the next clip where he immediately contradicts himself.
There was no pressure put on them whatsoever. I put no pressure on them whatsoever. I could have. I think it would probably, possibly have been okay if I did, but I didn't. I didn't put any pressure on them whatsoever.
So look, the reason why I bring that up is, and say he contradicts himself, is because in some statements he claims, no, Ukraine, they're not contributing enough when it comes to NATO. Now they're not a part of NATO, but they are a partner of NATO. He claims, no, I withheld the money in other statements because there was corruption within Ukraine, and so that's one of the other reasons why I did it. So he, again, keeps contradicting himself. He keeps throwing everything and anything out there to see what can stick. But again, the point is, he has admitted that he did withhold that money. And we have, based on that whistleblower report, some indication that the real motivation behind it was he wanted an investigation into a political opponent.
Well, actually, it's even more clear than that. But first, let me break down the 2 potential crimes here, both of which he's definitely admitted to. The other one, he's largely admitted to, and then get to other crimes that Republicans and conservatives are charging him with. So first one is asking for assistance from a foreign government for your political campaign is clearly 100% illegal. Now, if you remember, Robert Mueller said, well, the Russians did help Donald Trump in the election, but it was not super clear that Donald Trump asked for their help. So they had a Trump Tower meeting where parts of his campaign seemed to be asking for the help, but they didn't receive the help in that particular meeting, et cetera. You remember that whole conversation? And so Mueller said there's not necessarily enough evidence to charge him on that because he didn't ask for it. In this case, he's on tape with the Ukrainian president, and he just admitted, you saw it with your own eyes, saying, yeah, look, I held up the money, and the Wall Street Journal now saying, yes, he asked 8 different times for an investigation of Joe Biden and his son. So asking for that foreign assistance is already a crime, okay? Because it is not for the benefit of the United States of America and its people. It is for the benefit of his personal political campaign. That's why it's illegal. The second part of it is the quid pro quo. If he on top of that said, I will hold up that payment unless you do something about this, well, then that's a second crime, because then you're talking about extortion, potentially bribery. These are directly named in the Constitution as reasons for impeachment. You always hear high crimes and misdemeanors, but before that, there's specific crimes like treason and bribery. Those are immediate grounds for impeachment. So in this case, you have to connect the dots, but it's not very complicated to connect them, where he says, yeah, I held up the money, and yes, I asked for them to investigate Biden. Okay, if his big claim is, well, I never said those two things were connected, even though I did them within the span of a week, and I talked about it in the same conversation. If he was a regular person and made that case in court, he would definitely lose. Every prosecutor and every jury would be like, yeah, that was the whole point of that conversation, where you said, I've got your $400 million, now do the investigation on Biden or else.
So Senator Chris Murphy made a statement that I think is incredibly important. He spoke to Vladimir Zelensky, who is the president of Ukraine, and here's what he said. Senator Chris Murphy, who spoke to Zelensky during an early September visit to Ukraine, said Monday that the Ukrainian president directly expressed concerns that at their meeting, that the aid that was being cut off to Ukraine by the president was a consequence of his unwillingness to launch an investigation into the Bidens. Now, I also want to go to this next clip featuring Murphy, but before I do so.
Yeah, so that quote is devastating. Now, it's coming from a Democratic senator, but it would be really fascinating if they wound up in the impeachment hearings calling as a witness the president of Ukraine. Because if the president of Ukraine really said that, it's over. I mean, he's like, I'm on the phone call. He tells me he's not gonna give me the aid that the US Congress passed unless I help him politically against his rival. That's good night, Irene. I mean, even Fox News hosts now are talking about bribery, off the rails. I mentioned Republicans and conservatives. William Weld, now admittedly running against them in the Republican primary, such as it is, but said, look, that could be as high as treason. And he even said on television, the punishment for that is the death penalty. Now, I think that's crazy talk, okay? But that's a Republican saying that. So,
is it?
Okay, no, that's crazy talk. But look, guys, this is massive, massive. And so there's also his admission, Trump's admission, that yeah, it was about Biden. He said, now in the clips that we showed you, he said, oh, it was about making sure that everybody chipped into the assistance to Ukraine. But on other occasions, he said, no, it's about anti-corruption and I wanna make sure they're not corrupt. And he mentioned voluntarily, because he's really dumb, is about Vice President Biden and his corruption too. Oops. So you just admitted that you're holding up the money because you wanted them to investigate Biden. Also criminally inept. He should be charged with being totally incompetent. So I can't see how they wouldn't. I mean, you never put it past Democrats to screw up anything. But this is a layup. He definitely did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did. That is my gut instinct. But
it's not a gut instinct. He already admitted it. He admitted every aspect of it.
I know. I get it.
And today he says, "Oh, I'm going to release the transcript because it was a perfect call." And you think, well, then maybe he didn't do it because he's going to release the transcript. No, probably his advisors are like, no, don't release the transcript. He's like, no, it was a beautiful call. no, because he doesn't realize it's illegal. You look, people keep telling him things. 1,000 times they've told him, when you do the tariffs, that's a tax that Americans pay. China doesn't pay it, we pay it. And he's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. He really believes that it isn't. He really believes that he's right and that somehow China's paying it, which isn't true. So if they tell him, hey, that's illegal, don't admit that, don't release the transcript, he'd be like, no, it's not. No, I could ask for any political favor from any foreign government. Okay, that's like your opinion, man. But your opinion doesn't count when we're talking about the law. So the only way that this could be screwed up is by the Democrats. So 50-50 proposition. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.